The dropship cut through the clouds like a blade, its hull hissing against the humid air of Earth's upper atmosphere. Inside, a squad of elite Imperial legionnaires sat in silence, armored from head to toe, their helmets reflecting cold blue HUDs. The only sound was the occasional hiss of ventilation systems and the faint creak of settling metal. Prefect Relzor Vash stood at the front, arms behind his back, golden armor polished and ceremonial. His yellow reptilian eyes scanned the vast green sprawl below through the cockpit glass. "Still looks feral," he muttered. A junior officer turned from his console. "Preliminary scans show massive biodiversity, high humidity, and residual radiation from the Terran collapse era. No signs of resistance." Vash didn't look at him. Resistance doesn't leave signs until it's too late. With a jolt, the dropship landed on a rusted helipad overtaken by vines. The remains of what was once Manaus, an ancient human city, were now a suffocated ruin swallowed whole by nature. The ramp hissed open. The squad fanned out, rifles up, armor gleaming with condensation. Boots sank slightly into the damp earth. Insects buzzed around the perimeter shields. Towering trees loomed overhead, their trunks gnarled like twisted bone. Vash disembarked last, nostrils flaring in disdain. "Begin the sweep. Zone JX-9 has eaten 2 patrols. I want answers." Up in the canopy, a shadow adjusted his scope. Sergeant Major Callum Mercer lay prone across a thick branch wrapped in moss. His skin was camouflaged, his body nearly still. Only his eyes moved, tracking the Imperials like prey. He counted 7. One officer, the peacock in gold. The others, standard legionnaires, disciplined, heads on swivels. "Contact. We've got ourselves a parade," Mercer whispered into the throat mic. A soft crackle responded. "Visual confirmed. No drones, no walkers. Ground recon only. They're cocky." "More like clueless," Mercer replied. "Jungle's gonna chew them up." Below, the squad moved in tight formation. One paused near a pool of stagnant water, then recoiled as something slithered beneath the surface. "Commander," a soldier reported. "Hostile life forms detected. Recommend fallback until further scans." "No," Vash snapped. "We are the cleansing fire. Proceed." The patrol moved on, deeper into the green maze. Above them, Mercer and his wraiths tracked their every step. An hour later, the jungle began to work its magic. The first sign came when one soldier strayed 6 meters from the formation to investigate a heat signature. He never returned. "Visual lost on Bravo 12, a legionnaire said. "Retrace his route," Vash ordered. The soldier's body was never found. Only his helmet, neatly split down the center, left in the middle of a clearing like an offering. Vash growled. "This isn't an ambush. It's psychological warfare. Primitive nonsense." From the trees, Mercer listened, smiling faintly. In a moss-covered bunker buried deep beneath the jungle floor, Mercer rejoined his team. The room was lit by dim red LEDs and smelled faintly of oil and jungle mold. Corporal Lena Harlow was checking field monitors. "Imperials are pushing northeast. Movement's sluggish. They're already sweating inside those tin cans." "Standard Legion arrogance," said Mercer. "They think armor saves them from environment, from history, from us." "Orders." Mercer looked at the map projected on the wall. "Let them go a little deeper. Then we separate the pack." Back above, 2 soldiers broke formation slightly to scan a patch of oddly warm ground. That was the moment. With a muffled click, the ground beneath one soldier's foot shifted. He had just enough time to glance down before a spring-loaded spike trap impaled him through the torso. No screams. Just a choked gasp and silence. "Trap!" one of the others shouted, spinning around. The second stepped back, straight into a snare. A vine whipped around his ankle and yanked him into the air, crashing him against a tree trunk. Chaos erupted. Rifles snapped toward shadows. The canopy rustled with unseen movement. "Hold formation!" Vash roared. "They're toying with us." He pointed toward the deeper jungle. We press forward. I want their base, their leader, their heads on pikes. But Mercer had no base. Just silence, traps, and an old ghost's understanding of terrain and psychology. As night fell, the jungle transformed. The alien soldiers activated low-light vision, but it was useless. Fog rolled in, thick and yellowish, clinging to armor plates and dampening sound. Mercer and two of his wraiths moved like wraiths themselves, silent, camouflaged, practiced. They didn't kill indiscriminately. They selected. A flick of the knife here. A silent takedown there. Each death felt like a whisper. One soldier fired into the dark, panicked. The muzzle flash betrayed his position. Mercer dropped him with a suppressed shot. Back at their fallback point, Mercer checked his watch. They'll retreat by dawn. If they're smart. Harlow exhaled. And if they're not? We keep bleeding them. Prefect Vash stood alone in the clearing where he'd started, only 4 soldiers left. All around, jungle eyes watched. He clutched his plasma saber, the only light in the dark. A soft buzz came through his comms, interference. Then a voice cut through. You don't belong here. Vash stiffened. Earth doesn't forget. And neither do we. Then silence. Only the sound of something moving in the trees. Something fast. The jungle didn't sleep. Even when the Empire's encampment settled into forced rest, Earth's breath continued. Thick, humid, alive with whispers. Insects chattered like static, vines coiled tighter in the dark, and distant growls echoed low and hungry. The Empire's perimeter lights struggled to hold back the night. Inside the prefab command tent, Prefect Vash paced. He hadn't slept. 4 men gone. 1 officer missing. No trace of enemy movement, no visible opposition. Yet they were being bled. This isn't war, he growled. This is insult. A junior tech glanced up from a sensor array. We've recalibrated scanners. No heat signatures within 50 meters, sir. But there's something else. Vash turned sharply. Speak. There's interference. Electromagnetic burst. Subtle. Rhythmic. Deliberate. Jamming. Not entirely. More like camouflage. Someone's hiding their presence. Vash clenched a fist. Primitive animals shouldn't know how to outmaneuver our systems. Outside, a motion sensor chirped once. Then stopped. No movement detected. No trigger source. Just a brief, inexplicable flicker. A kilometer out, Mercer crouched beneath a canopy root system, knife in hand, listening to his own heartbeat. Harlow slid next to him, breathing steady. They've deployed pulse beacons, she murmured. Trying to map the jungle. Mercer nodded. They're scared. Should be. He tapped a small device on his belt. A deep thrum rolled through the soil, a false seismic signature mimicking large movement, calibrated to draw their attention southwest. Let's keep them dancing. By midday, the Imperials advanced toward the decoy. Their formation was tighter now, rifles constantly scanning. Heat shimmered off their armor. Vash walked among them, saber at his hip. His patience had thinned to a razor edge. Fan out. 2-meter intervals. Slow sweep. As they moved through a gully, the underbrush erupted. A camouflaged log, bound in thick vine, snapped from a tension point and swung in a brutal arc. It struck the lead soldier full in the chest, sending him flying. His armor cracked on impact. Before he could scream, a thin blade pierced his visor. Gone. The squad opened fire wildly, plasma bolts sizzling into trees. Smoke rose. Leaves burned. Nothing hit. Vash activated his comms. All units converge. We flush them here. But Mercer was already gone. At base, Harlow monitored the chaos. They're pulling units from the northeast ridge. Exactly like we wanted. Mercer adjusted his earpiece. Good. Ready phase 2. He pressed a remote. 100 meters away, a series of small explosives. Nothing lethal, just flash and sound, detonated across a false trail. The Imperials sprinted toward it, drawn by the bait. By the time they reached the smoke, They found nothing but a carved sign stuck into a tree trunk. Wrong direction. Farther in the jungle, a wounded legionnaire limped behind a fallen tree, his leg shredded from a concealed spike trap. Blood soaked the dirt. He reached for his comm, static. A shadow moved behind him. He turned, weapon trembling, visor cracked. Mercer crouched just out of reach, watching him. The soldier hesitated, recognizing the face beneath the grime and scars. Human. Not tribal. Not feral. Train. Why, you're Terran, he gasped. Mercer stared. Used to be. Before your empire turned the planet into a dump. Your soldiers. Mercer didn't answer. He stepped forward, picked up the Legionnaire's rifle, and dismantled it with practiced ease. I'm not here for trophies. The soldier trembled. Then why? Mercer leaned close. To remind you. We're still here. He vanished into the foliage, leaving the soldier alive, on purpose. Vash reviewed the footage with growing fury. You had a visual? Yes, sir, the wounded man stammered. Human. Train. Fluent in combat. Not tribal. Vash's jaw tightened. Impossible. All Earth forces were neutralized centuries ago. No resistance remains. Then these are ghosts, the soldier whispered. And they know this place. In a clearing, Mercer regrouped with Harlow and 2 other Wraith. They'd moved silently, leaving almost no trail. Message received, Harlow said, checking a listening node. They're panicking. Leadership thinks we're legend. Mercer smirked. Let's make it true. He kneeled, drawing lines in the dirt, interception paths, fallback points, new trap. We're not just holding ground. We're bleeding their will. Every step they take should feel like death waits behind it. Corporal Reyes, the youngest of them, asked, What's the endgame, Sarge? We just keep this up forever. Mercer looked toward the distant flicker of Imperial beacons. No. We make them go home. And we make sure they never come back. That night the Imperials camped again. No jokes, no idle chatter. Even Vash remained inside his personal tent, armor removed but sword kept close. The jungle pressed around them like a closing fist. One soldier whispered to another, This isn't a planet. It's a trap. Something moved beyond the perimeter. Lights flared. Rifles aimed. Nothing there. Again. In the dark, Mercer watched. He whispered into his comms. They're breaking. Tomorrow we split their ranks. Harlow's voice crackled through. And Vash. Leave him for me. Dawn broke over the canopy like a knife edge, slicing shadows apart. Shafts of pale light pierced the mist, exposing the Imperial encampment's ragged shape. The soldiers moved with hollow stares, muscles slow, nerves frayed. Each tree was a threat. Each bird call felt like a countdown. Prefect Vash emerged from his tent fully armored, face grim. His polished saber caught the sun. He addressed what remained of his patrol, 13 soldiers, down from 26. No more games, he said. We march west. Straight through. We will not fear myths nor shadows. A pause. Then he added, Anyone who questions that, drop your weapon now. No one moved. But no one spoke either. Mercer crouched on a ridge, watching the procession snake through thick roots and hanging moss. He turned to Reyes and Harlow beside him. They're walking into the meat grinder. Reyes adjusted his suppressor. We spring the funnel? Not yet, Mercer said. Let them commit deeper. He pointed toward a narrowing path ahead. Vines hung low. 2 ridges boxed the trail. At the end, a cul-de-sac of collapsed stone ruins, a dead end on every map. The perfect trap. The Imperials advanced. The air thickened. Heat clung to every joint in their armor. Even their boots began to drag in the wet earth. Sir, one soldier radioed to Vash. Thermal sensors are glitching. Distorted input. Vash's voice cracked back. Keep eyes open. Sensors are unreliable here. That's the point. Still, he felt it. The oppressive sense of being watched, every step louder than it should be. At the narrowing, Mercer gave the signal. A hidden tripwire snap. 2 charges exploded. Pure concussion, deafening and disorienting. Smoke billowed across the trail. Then came the whisper of ropes. From above, nets dropped. 2 soldiers were hoisted before they could scream. Blades flashed in the fog. Screams cut short. The rest scrambled for cover, shouting over each other, firing into smoke. Vash roared, "Form a perimeter! Return fire!" They shot at nothing. The jungle swallowed their plasma bolts like rain into soil. Mercer dropped into the chaos, rolling behind a fallen tree. He took out a squad leader with a quiet double tap, then vanished into the curling smoke. Harlow flanked from the east, dropping another soldier mid-reload. Reyes engaged 2 Imperials in close quarters, knife first. One went down choking on his own breath. The other, disarmed, tried to flee, only to trip a pressure plate Mercer had buried the night before. An explosion of mud and bone. By the time the smoke cleared, only 6 soldiers remained. Their armor was blackened, eyes wide behind cracked visors. They huddled together, panicked. "Fall back. Regroup, North Trail." "No North Trail," one muttered, staring at his compass. "It loops. We passed that tree already. We're lost," another finished. Vash stood tall among them. "You are legionnaires. You were trained to adapt. You do not break because of fog and vines." Mercer's voice came from a nearby speaker embedded in a tree bark. "You trained for wars. We trained for this." Panic surged. "They're listening. They've wired the trees." Vash slashed the speaker with his blade. Sparks flared, but the damage was done. "Keep moving," he shouted. But every step now felt like walking into an unseen hand waiting to crush them. Mercer and Harlow regrouped at a rise overlooking the retreat path. Below, the Imperials staggered through knee-deep mud. 2 hours until sundown, Harlow said. "Want to finish it now?" Mercer hesitated. "Not yet. Let fear take the lead." He watched one soldier collapse from exhaustion. Another tried to lift him, only to fall himself. They were coming apart. "They'll beg to leave," he said. "Or die where they stand." Vash pulled the remaining troops into a circular defense at the base of a rock outcrop. "Dig in," he ordered. "We'll hold until extraction. No more chases. Let the jungle come." Reyes's voice came over comms. "You want me to smoke him now?" Mercer waited. "No. They're not ready yet." Night came like a final breath. Fog thickened. The camp lights flickered under the weight of moisture. In the dark, the Empire's bravado finally snapped. One soldier stood suddenly, tossing his weapon. "I won't die here. This isn't war, it's a slaughter." Vash lunged forward, backhanding him across the helmet. "You'll die a soldier, or you'll die a traitor." Another muttered, "There's no way out." Then came a sound that silenced them all. Footstep. Just outside the light perimeter. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Vash drew his saber. "Show yourself." The footsteps stopped. Then, softly, Mercer's voice. "You think you're still in control." Vash snarled. "You're cowards. You hide in vines and shadows. You think this is victory?" "This isn't victory," Mercer said. "This is memory." "You're one man," Vash shouted. "You can't hold back an empire." "I don't have to," Mercer said calmly. "Earth does that all by itself." Silence. Then something hit the outer beacon, shattering it. Darkness fell. A scream followed. Then another. By morning, only one Imperial rose from the mud, wounded, delirious, stumbling toward a signal flare. The evac ship landed hours late, lowering its ramp into a silence soaked in defeat. He collapsed at the edge. Prefect Vash never made it out. His saber was found later, embedded in a tree, rusted and overgrown. 3 weeks later, a high-ranking Imperial official stood aboard the orbiting dreadnought Penance, staring down at the green scar of Earth. The jungles remained untouched, ancient, defiant. A planet left behind, yet still unyielding. Vice Admiral Torin reviewed the last transmission logs from the surface. No new signals. No beacon pings. The last evac pod had contained only one survivor, mute, half-mad, eyes locked open in permanent terror. He turned to his aide. "Summon the full tribunal. I want details on Prefect Vash's failure." "Sir, the men didn't fail," the aide said quietly. "They were dismantled." Torin arched a brow. "By what? Starvation? Disease? Ghosts, sir. At least. That's what the survivor claimed." On the planet below, Mercer stood atop a ridge where the final ambush had played out. Dawn filtered through dripping leaves. Rain pattered softly on worn stone. Harlow joined him, still chewing on dried rations. "You think they'll try again?" she asked. Mercer didn't answer immediately. He studied the jungle, still, vibrant, ancient. "No. Not soon. They learned something. Fear." He shook his head. "Cost." She crouched beside a tree, wiping moss away from a carved metal plate, imperial-grade steel, etched with fresh marks. "We remember." Below it, a stylized skull with twin blades crossed behind it. The SAS emblem. Still here. Still watching. In orbit, the tribunal convened. Voices clashed in heated tones. Torin stood at the head of the hall. "You claim a handful of ancient humans dismantled an elite legion? With knives and tricks." A tactician adjusted his monocle. "They used knowledge of terrain, psychological warfare, asymmetrical strategies. And silence. They weaponized absence." "Romantic nonsense," another general sneered. "What of satellites? Sensors? Drones? All disrupted. Precision jamming decoys, and something more disturbing." He tapped his datapad. "They anticipated our doctrine. They knew exactly how we'd respond at every stage." Torin frowned. "You're suggesting survivors from the Terran military still operate covertly?" "No, sir. We're suggesting they never stopped. Earth didn't surrender. It went dark." Back on the surface, Reyes was cleaning a rifle beneath a woven canopy when a quiet hum drifted through the trees. He stood instantly. Mercer emerged from the brush. "Recon drone. Close." Harlow joined them, already scanning skyward. "You want me to jam it?" "No," Mercer said. "Let it see what we want." They moved quickly, unrolling banners, setting up falsified shelters and abandoned gear marked with fresh boot track. Enough to paint a false image of movement, of retreat. As the drone passed overhead, Mercer looked directly into its lens. No fear. No aggression. Just calm defiance. Then he waved. Aboard the Penance, that footage looped silently in front of Torin. The tribunal had been dismissed. Only he remained, watching Mercer's eyes staring back at him through the feed. He muttered, "They want us to see them." The AI assistant chimed in. "Would you like a psychological profile of the insurgent commander?" "No. I want his record." The screen shifted. File access, classified. SAS Tier 1 name, Mercer Alastair J. Status, Kia, unconfirmed. Date, 313 years ago. Torin froze. "He's over 3 centuries old." "No, sir," the AI corrected. "He was lost 3 centuries ago. Never confirmed dead." Torin leaned back, stunned. "They've been hiding ever since. Breeding new ghosts." Mercer, now deep in the jungle bunker, studied the drone's footage through hacked uplink. "They've seen enough." Reyes looked up. "They'll either retreat, or bring bigger toys." "They won't come back the same way," Harlow added. "This time it won't be a patrol. It'll be a purge." Mercer nodded. "Then we stop hiding." Reyes blinked. "Go public." "Not fully. Just enough. A whisper campaign. Let the outer colonies hear about the Imperials who disappeared on Earth. Stir the pot." Harlow grinned. "You want to make us into a legend." "We already are," Mercer replied. "Time to weaponize the myth." The first leak hit the outer colonies within days. A private mercenary forum. A story, anonymous, unverified, of a jungle planet that devoured an Imperial legion. Of silent warriors who vanished into vines. Of voices on the wind warning, Earth remembers. Some called it fiction. Others didn't. Within weeks, smuggler crews rerouted to avoid Sol system. 2 black market AI pilots hard-coded Earth as a no-fly zone. And the Empire's recruitment numbers began to dip. No one wanted to be sent to the ghost planet. At a shadowed base buried beneath the Amazon's dense heart, Mercer stood before a wall covered in faces, photos, sketches, names, ranks. "Are you sure?" Harlow asked quietly. He placed the latest intel, an Imperial surveillance map, onto the table. "We're not fighting for survival anymore," he said. "We're shaping memory. We tell them Earth is sacred. Untouchable." Reyes looked over the map. "And if they come anyway?" Mercer unsheathed his knife, still bearing the faded SAS etching. "Then we remind them again." Final Imperial Report. Subject: Earth Recon Campaign Summary. Status: Tactical withdrawal recommended. Reason: high-risk environment, local resistance unmatched in irregular warfare. Conclusion: Earth is hostile, unpredictable, and haunted by military forces with no official existence. Field note: do not underestimate what humanity becomes when forgotten. In the jungle, wind whispered through trees. Birds sang. Somewhere, something growled. And beneath it all, the old rhythm of Earth continued, ancient, untamed, and undefeated. Because the SAS hadn't disappeared. They were home. And they were watching.